totally. What was I thinking? Oh, it's right here? Okay.
Shabbat Shalom, everybody. There we go. Shabbat Shalom, everybody. Thank you so much for joining us Friday night. Last one that it's like right now getting dark, but I know with daylight saving time over the weekend, this is going to be our last Friday night for a good while that we are starting when there's still light outside. So cherish that light because it's going to disappear soon. And let's start off. I'm so happy to be up here with my friend Karen Nielsen Anson. And let's start off with some beautiful music and holiness in our community this weekend. Maybe on the challenging Hebrew words of Yailalai. And let's find some meaning and spirituality as we begin our Shabbat.
Thank you for that, Rabbi. And speaking of light, Kol Ami is such a source of light in my life, and I'm so delighted to be here with you. Yes, please put on your mic so we can hear you better. Maya Hayom Shabbat Shalom Maya Hayom Shabbat Shalom Shabbat Shabbat Shalom Shabbat Shabbat Shalom Shabbat Shabbat Shalom Shabbat Shalom Ya Elai Ya Elai la la Ya Elai la 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 Ya Elai Ya Elai la 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 Ya la 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 Shabbat Shalom Ya la 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 Ya la 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 Ya la 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 Ya la 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 Shabbat Shalom Ya la 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 Ya la 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 Ya la 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 Ya la la Ya la 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 Ya la 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 Ya la 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 Ya la Ya la 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 Ya la Ya la 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 Ya Kiva Moed, the time has come. Kiva Moed, Kiva Moed, Kiva Moed. Ya la la ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la ya la ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la ya la ya la 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 ya la ya la ya la 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 ya la ya la Ya la 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 ya la ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la Kiva Moed, the time is here. Kiva Moed, Kiva Moed, Kiva Moed. Shabbat Shalom. Welcome to our live stream at Kolami. We're so happy to have you with us. We hope that your week was good. We hope that you stayed safe. And we hope that you are with us in good health. If you have your Siddur with you, I'm going to do Shalom Aleichem on page 142. Won't you please join me? Shalom Aleichem, Malachei Hasharei, Malachei Elyon, Mi Melech, Malachei Hamlachim HaKadosh, Baruch. Boechem Shalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon. Mi Melech Malachei Hamlachim HaKadosh Baruch. Baruchuni LeShalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon. Mi Melech Malachei Hamlachim HaKadosh Baruch. Zechem Shalom, Malachei Hashalom, Malachei Elyon. Mi Melech Malachei Hamlachim HaKadosh Baruch. Tov lahodot ladonai. It is good to give thanks. And I want to invite you, even though you're not here with me, to say out loud the things that you are grateful for this Shabbat. Or you can turn to your family member and tell them the things that you are truly grateful for as we begin this Shabbat. Tov lehodot ladonai, tov lehodot ladonai, ulezamer el shimcha elyon. Tov lehodot ladonai, tov lehodot ladonai, ulezamer el shimcha elyon. Lehagid baboker chastecha ve'emunatcha balelot. Lehagid baboker chastecha ve'emunatcha balelot. It is good to give thanks to the eternal source of life and to sing out praises in your name. It is good to give thanks to the eternal source of life and to sing out praises in your name. To tell of your kindness in the morning and your faithfulness at night. To tell of your kindness in the morning and your faithfulness at night. Tov lehodot ladonai, tov lehodot ladonai, ulezamer el shimcha elyon. Tov lehodot ladonai, tov lehodot ladonai, ulezamer el shimcha elyon. Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat
Rabbi, do I
shalom.
have time for Lachadodi?
We always have time. That's one of those we will always do. on
Always
Friday
have
night.
time for Lachadodi.
So we'll do
turn with
Lachadodi.
me to page 138. We will go ahead and do verses, as we always do, verses 1, 2, 5, and 9. Lecha Lachadodi, likrat kala, pene shabbat nekabela. Lecha Lachadodi, likrat kala, pene shabbat nekabela. Shamor v'zakur b'dibur echad, Hishmi'anu elam yuchad, Adonai echad u'shemo echad, L'shemo tefiret v'lipti la 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 Lachadodi, likrat kala, pene shabbat nekabela. Lecha Lachadodi, likrat kala, pene shabbat nekabela. Likrat shabbat lekuvan elcha, כי מקור הברכה מראש מקדם אין ספורה סוף מעשה מסחשבה תלך לי לה 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 לקראת דודי לקראת קלה פני שבת נקבלה לך דודי לקראת קלה פני שבת נקבלה Hitori, Kiva Ori, Kumi Ori, Uri, Shir Dabari, Kavod Adonai, Al Yaknig la 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 Chadoti, Likrat Kala, Pene Shabbat Nekavila. Lecha dodi likrat kala pene shabbat nekabela. And we rise and face whatever door your Sabbath bride will come through. Boi v'shalom teret ba'ala gava simcha u'b'tzala toch amone am segula. Boi chala, la 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 chadoti, likrat kala, pene shabbat nekabela. Lecha doti, likrat kala, pene shabbat nekabela. La 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 chadoti, likrat kala, pene shabbat nekabela. Lecha dodi likrat kala pene shabbat nekabela. And now, Rabbi, would you lead us in Tzadik HaTamar?
Sure, absolutely. We are on page 140. Good place. I'll lead in English. How about that? God understands English too. And I think that what I'll be talking about some is how, for those of us who are able to do so, we need to get out and vote. I won't tell you who to vote for. That's for you to decide. I hope you vote your Jewish values. And what I think about is how when we vote our values and when we vote for righteousness and for justice, that's a way that all of us can thrive. It says in Psalm 92 that the righteous bloom like a date palm. They thrive like a cedar in Lebanon, planted in the house of Adonai. They flourish in the courts of our God. In old age, they still produce fruit, and they are full of sap and freshness, attesting that Adonai is upright, my rock, in whom there is no wrong. Let's all try and aspire to be righteous and to use our abilities of advocacy and voting, or however you can advocate if you don't vote, if you can't vote, to create righteousness around us, and in doing so, we'll be righteous too. Page 144, Hatzi Kaddish. Yitgadal v'ikadash shmei Rabbah, ve'almadi v'achir tevim lech malchutei, v'chayechon u'yomechon, u'chayedecho be'Yisrael, bagala, uvizman kariv v'imiru, amen. Yehei shmei Rabbah mevarach, ve'olam ome'omaya, Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yipar v'yitramam v'yanazeh v'yitadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shmei dekudesha b'reichu le'elam min kol berchata v'shirata tushbechata v'nehemata damiram be'almam v'imiru. Amen. We'll rise for our call to worship the Baracho.
We invite you to face the east in your home and ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la 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 ya la 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 Baruch et Adonai HaMevorach Baruch Adonai HaMevorach HaMevorach Le'olam Va'ed HaMevorach HaMevorach Le'olam Va'ed.
You may be seated. We turn now to page 149, and again, like I said, it's just now, it's still a little bit of, the sun has gone down, Shabbat has begun, but there's still a little bit of light outside, natural light outside, and this time next week, that will be gone. A lot this time next week will be different, I think. We're going to, I think that there's a lot of anxiety leading into this coming week, and regardless of how it turns out, I think that all of us will be in a different state next week, for better or for worse. For some of us better, for some of us worse. This is an hour of change. Within it we stand uncertain, on the border of light. Shall we draw back or cross over? Where shall our hearts turn? Shall we draw back, my brother, my sister, or cross over? This is the hour of change, and within it we stand quietly on the border of light. What lies before us? Shall we draw back, my brother, my sister, or cross over? Baruch atah Adonai, Amariv Aravim. Page 150, Ahavat Olam.
Ahavat Olam, Beit Yisrael, Amcha Ahavta, Torah mitzvot, chukim u'mishpatim, notanu limadta. Alken Adonai Eloheinu, v'shachveinu u'kumeinu, nasiach b'chuktecha, v'nizmach b'divrei Toratecha, u'mitzvotecha, le'olam va'ed. Kihem chayenu ve'orat yameinu, uvahem negeh yomam v'leila, ve'ahavatcha al tasir mimenu le'olamim. Baruch atah Adonai, ohev amo Yisrael. Baruch atah Adonai, ohev amo Yisrael.
Turn now 152 for the Shema.
Rise together, sing together. Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. And Rabbi lead us in V'ahavta on 154.
ואהבת את אדוני אלוהיך בכל לבבך ובכל נפשך ובכל מאודיך והיו הדברים האלה אשר אנוכי מצווך היום על לבביך ושיננתם לבניך ודיברת בם בשבתך בביתך ולכתך בדרך ושכבך וקומך וקשרתם להיות על ידיך והיו לטוטפה בין עיניך על ביתך ובשעריך למען תזכרו ועשיתם את כל מצוותי והייתם קדושים לאלוהיהם אני אדוני אלוהיהם אשר הוצאתי אתכם מארץ מצרים להיות להם לאלוהים אני אדוני אלוהיהם Adonai Elohim Emet. For me, the most inspiring moment, and this is why I pretty much every week try and talk about the Milchamo Chasam, is that was for me perhaps the most inspiring moment in our people's history. Because that was the moment where our people said, I'm going to make a choice about tomorrow. I'm going to make a choice for what I think is right for future generations. And I don't know how it's going to work out, but I have faith and hope and just kind of a gut feeling of what is right and what the right thing to do is. And so they chose to courageously cross the sea of reeds and to go into something they didn't know. But they knew that nonetheless, that they had hope, that tomorrow could be better than today, and also ultimately a feeling that God felt they were doing the right thing. Like I said, not just for them, but for those who would follow. So I encourage you to think about that this week and join with us, page 158, as we sing the Michamocha.
Absolutely, Rabbi. And we're so blessed with the freedom to hope and the freedom to vote. Yam bum bum ba yam bum 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 ba yam bum bum ba yam bum 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 yam bum bum ba yam bum 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 yam bum bum ba yam bum 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 bum. Mi chamocha be'elim Adonai, mi chamocha ne'eder b'kodesh, nora tehilot osef eleh, nora tehilot osef eleh. Malechutecha ra'u banecha, bo'okei hayam livnei Moshe Miriam, Ze'eli anu v'amru, Ze'eli anu v'amru, Adonai Yimloch le'olam va'ed, Adonai Yimloch le'olam va'ed. Yam bam bam ba yam bam 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 ba yam bam bam ba yam bam 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 yam bam bam ba yam bam 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 yam bam bam ba yam bam 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 bam.
Turn to page 160. We ask God to watch over us this evening, on this evening where sadly we yet again set another record for number of cases of coronavirus in our state, almost 2,300 diagnoses today. And I know that there are a lot of people who are scared, and a lot of parents who are scared, a lot of kids that are scared, and just a lot of people are scared right now. And so we pray, like I said, that God watch over all of us and keep us safe during this very scary time.
Spread over us your shelter of peace. Ufros aleinu sukkot, sukkot, shalom echad. Spread over us, spread over us, spread over us, a shelter of peace.
We turn now, page 162, as we celebrate Shabbat, that we are wrapping up this week, and just as we have kept Shabbat, as we keep Shabbat, Shabbat keeps us together too. Page 162.
Vishamru b'nei Israel et ha-Shabbat לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. בני ישראל אותי לעולם, אותי לעולם, אותי לעולם. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. כי ששת ימים עשה אדוני את השמיים ואת הארץ. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. וביום השביעי שבת וינפש, שבת וינפש, שבת וינפש. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם.
We rise for the Amidah, page 164.
Adonai, Sfatai Tiftach, Ufi Yagi Tehilatecha, Adonai, Sfatai Tiftach, Ufi Yagi Tehilatecha. Adonai, Sefatai Tiftach, Ufi Yagi Tehilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips, that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu, Elohei Avotenu v'Imotenu, Elohei Abraham, Elohei Yitzhak, Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, Elohei Leah, El Hagadol, Hagibor v'Hanora, El Elyon, Gomel Hasadim Tovim, Bekonei Hakol, Bezocher Hasdei Avot v'Imaot, Umevi Gula Livnei B'neihem, Leman Shemo Be'ava, Melech Ozer U'Moshia U'Magen,
Baruch atah Adonai, Magen Abraham, Vezrat Sarah. Atah Gibor le'olam Adonai, Mechayeh HaKol atah Rav le'oshia. Mashiv HaRuach u'morit HaGashem, Mechalkel Hayim Behesed, Mechayeh HaKol berachamim rabim. Somech noflim berofei holim, umatir asurim, umekayem emunato, lishenei afar, mihamocha ba'gevurot, umido melach, melech meimi, umechayeh, umatzmiach Yeshua, v'ne'emanat alecha chayot hakol. Baruch atah Adonai, Mechayeh HaKol. Atah kadosh v'shema kadosh v'kedoshim b'chol yom yichalelu chasela. Baruch atah Adonai, Ha'el HaKadosh. And at this time you are welcome to say your own private prayers and meditations. I said I know it's a big week for our nation coming up, and also a scary time with this virus for everyone. So I invite you to lead your own prayers, and or if you prefer, you continue in the prayer book through page 180.
Oh, say shalom bimramav, say shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, ve'imru, ve'imru, amen. Yaseh shalom, yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, yaseh shalom, yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, yaseh shalom, yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, yaseh shalom, yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael, yaseh shalom, yaseh shalom, shalom aleinu, ve'al kol Yisrael.
As I said, this virus is sadly getting worse, not better. And I know it's so scary right now for so many of us, and that there are people in our community who are being affected, either their loved ones or they themselves are sick. And so whatever source you have, whatever pain you have, whether it's from this virus or something else in your life, like for us to all join together
and a much needed prayer for healing. Time when really, I think, so many people do connect to prayer, especially now when we know that there is sickness around us, the mind, body, spirit, emotionally, faith, and there are people in our midst who are also in the process of healing and recovery. We turn to page 371 for the Mishaberach.
Mishaberach Avotenu Mekor Habracha Imotenu. May the source of strength, who bless the ones before us, help us find the courage to make our lives a blessing, and let us say, Amen.
This week we think of these members of our community and their loved ones. Benjamin Eliezer ben Gedaliah, Elchanan Yitzhak ben Shimon Pinchas, Esther bat Malka, Gitalea bat Mashachana, Michael ben Manya, Shifra Fega bat Rachel, Israel Isser ben Moshe, Israel bat Donna, Laureen Berry, Jeff Davis, Denise Dobling, Alexander Dalwitz, Will Goldman, Norma Jean Gaither, Sandy Kahn, Jonah Katz, Simon Katz, Sharon Katz, Ray Kesner, Betty Linehan, Jamie Manson, Tyler Matthews, Janet Morley, Shari Pedersen, Cheryl Rothenberg, Gary Rubenstein, Jenna Salvati, Anel Santoyo, Leon Shapashnikov, Henny Spector, Angela Stefani, Gloria Sussman, Dustin Wallace, Harriet Wallace, and Judy Wolf. If you have a name to add, I invite you to do so at this time.
Yeah, my singing. And certainly all of us have been traumatized to some level because of issues involving the pandemic. So this prayer for healing goes out to each and every one of us. And for those wounds that we cannot see, that are not apparent, we pray for the healing of those wounds as well.
Amen.
Mishaberach imotenu mekor habracha la'avotenu. Bless those in need of healing with refuah shaleima, a renewal of body, a renewal of spirit, and let us say, Amen.
Amen. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
This week we are in Parshat Lech Lecha. Take my mask off for a second. Let me grab some tape. There we go. But we are in Parshat Lech Lecha. And for me, Parshat Lech Lecha is one of the most meaningful, inspirational, and really Jewish Parsha of Torah that we have. On one hand, it's totally unrelatable. What happens is Abraham and Sarah receive a calling from God telling them to get up and leave Lech Lecha, get up and take yourself to this place that you do not know and where you don't know anybody, and trust that it will work out. And if a voice told us, or somebody said, I heard a voice that said, sell my home, everything, and go to this place I've never been before, and it will all work out, we might tell our friends or loved ones, maybe you want to reconsider that, or get some counseling, some perspective on that, rather than just going to it. And at the same time, though, how many of us have had a little voice inside of us that's told us, get up and go? That can be in many things, whether it's moving or maybe leaving a relationship that wasn't right for you, or beginning a new relationship with someone where you're saying, I don't know if this is something I should journey into. What if I get hurt? And a little voice inside of you says, but there's a chance you won't. Go and get there. Or like I said again, leaving a relationship. Maybe I shouldn't. This is safe. This is what I know. Maybe you could be happier. Maybe you could be fulfilled. And for me, certainly a couple of years ago, 2.5 years, almost 3 years ago now, when I told people in Los Angeles, I'm getting up and going to a place where I don't really know it and I don't really know anybody there, because it feels like the right decision for me. And they said, where are you taking your rabbinate? Are you going to New York City? Are you going to Miami? Are you going to Washington, D.C.? Are you going to Chicago? And I said, Utah. I definitely got some strange looks to tell people that I was leaving Los Angeles to pursue Judaism in Utah. I think we've all had that moment. And what leads us and drives us is hope, which I often express that I think is the most Jewish feeling that anybody can have, is hope. And that was Abraham and Sarah. So they followed that gut feeling, that intuition, because ultimately they had hope that this decision would lead to better things for themselves and those who would follow them. And all of us have that potential to have that feeling, that moment again, this upcoming week. Now, as I said at the High Holidays, I talked about this on Rosh Hashanah, Erev Rosh Hashanah, how if we went to Rosh Hashanah a year ago and knew what was awaiting us, earthquakes, a hurricane in Utah, some reckoning with racial tension in our nation, and also, of course, this pandemic that for the foreseeable future is changing every aspect of our life. But I think even after, God willing, soon this pandemic goes away, I don't think any of us will ever be the same again. I don't think we will ever go back to the way it was a year ago. We can't read the future, but we can have hope. Even when we don't know how it will turn out, we can have hope and we can have faith. And voting and going to the ballot box is an expression of hope. When we don't care about what happens in our country, or when we don't care about what will happen, what world we'll be leaving for the next generation, or when we have no hope and say, well, this is how it is, there's no chance that it could be better than this, then there's no point in voting. When we go and vote, regardless of how you vote or who you vote for, you're doing a Jewish action. You are what Abraham Joshua Heschel called praying with your feet and getting up and going to the ballot box. And I believe that every person who votes, and I understand some of us can't vote for various reasons, we aren't citizens or so on and so forth, but when each of us does get up and vote, or even if we can't, if we raise our voice in some way, we're we're showing ourselves, exposing ourselves to be optimists. We're showing ourselves to think of the hopes, the values, and what we hope will be passed down to future generations. For some people, that's the environment. Some people, it's race relations, criminal justice, police reform. For other people, it's the economy. For other folks, it's the safety and security of the state of Israel. And for other folks right now, it's LGBTQ rights. And so each of us, when we go and vote, is having that Abraham moment of saying, I have faith and I have hope of how the future will turn out. But when we're voting, we aren't saying, I know what's going to happen. But in the 2016 election, regardless of who you voted for, none of us knew this pandemic was going to happen. And for those of you who vote for Donald Trump, you have your hopes of what he will accomplish, but we don't have a crystal ball. And for those of us who are voting for Joe Biden as well, it's the same thing. And for those of us who are voting third party or down ballot, we never know how things will turn out. But when we choose a candidate to vote for, we're saying, I have a hope and I think this person is the person of the options we have who is closest to us for fulfilling that hope, that dream. And we have to listen to that voice in our head and trust what is right. Do we know, like I said, that it will work out, that whoever we vote for will live up to our hopes and dreams and expectations and fulfill our vision and live up to our values? No, like I said, we don't. And did Abraham know for sure that it would work out as he embarked on this journey? Did the Israelites know when they stood on the shore of the sea that once they crossed the sea, life would be better for them? No. We read that so many of them were saying, let's turn around and go back to Egypt because, yeah, maybe it'll get better or maybe it will get 1,000 times worse. They didn't know. But ultimately, their faith and their hope prevailed. And even when we have that uncertainty, what we have, what Abraham and Sarah had, was faith, hope, and values that accompanied them. And in that way, they weren't alone. So for those of you who are able to do so, lech lecha, lechi lach, get yourself up and pray with your feet and vote. And vote your Jewish values. Like Abraham, we cannot stand idly by and be apathetic. What if Abraham had heard this calling and said, there's a land I don't know, and what if I get there and it's just the same as where I'm at now? So I'm not going to bother. If that had been Abraham's approach of, does it really matter? We wouldn't be here today. We must go on a journey of faith and hope and embark on a bright future, with faith and hope that we can create a community, a city, a county, a state, and a country that serves as a light unto the nations of the world, as his descendants of Abraham are called to do. And ultimately, we can do what our ancestors did what Abraham did, what the Israelites did. For Abraham, he wandered some in his life, even after he got to the land of Canaan. It wasn't perfect or great. And for the Israelites, with the exception of Joshua and Caleb, none of them made it to the promised land. But we benefited from their courage, from their hope, from their actions. And so for us as well, we can create for the next generation of the Jewish people, even if we don't enjoy the fruits of it in our lifetimes, a better tomorrow than our todays. And we certainly need a better tomorrow than our today. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom.
I think, some announcements. Like I said, please go and vote. I'm not going to tell you who to vote for. You vote your Jewish values. And I think, it's funny. I talked with somebody earlier this week who said, I don't understand how any Jew can vote for anybody but Joe Biden. And yesterday I had a talk with another person in our community who said, well, the biggest Jewish no-brainer is voting for Donald Trump. And so I think for however you vote, we can find some Jewish values. So I'm going to ask you, when you go to the ballot box, no matter who you vote for, and I know there's a million other options too, even Kanye West or and a bunch of other races, bring your Jewish values with you into the ballot box, and voting itself is a value. I hope that our congregation of eligible voters will have 100% turnout. That's often something that the Union for Reform Judaism puts out as a challenge, is getting 100% voter turnout of eligible voters in your congregation. I hope we can do that, Utah, in Colomine. Other announcements, we are also still in the midst of our High Holiday Appeal. Thank you so much for those of you who have so generously supported us. As I walked into the synagogue this evening, I had seen in my mailbox a few very generous donations, and I was so touched and moved by those. Thank you for helping us during a difficult time, not only to survive and keep our lights on, of course, yes, but also to be creative, innovative, and create a better tomorrow and create a better today, a more interactive Judaism during a difficult time. The other announcements that I will share with you is that I believe next Friday, we don't have the speaker confirmed yet, so I will work on that, on confirming that, and you'll see it in announcements, but having our Shabbat speaker series once a month on social justice and homelessness, and hunger is our theme. Having a member of our community who professionally works in combating homelessness and hunger speak to our community. So that is, I think that's about all in terms of announcements that I have at this time. Please stay safe, please vote, and just the last thing I'll say about that is, however Tuesday turns out next week, half of our country is going to be ecstatic and half of our country is going to be devastated. And though I'm fairly outspoken on a lot of my views, and a lot of people know where I stand on some things, not everything, but some things, what I do try and pride myself on is being a compassionate rabbi to all of our people. And so after the election, if you're feeling scared, if you are feeling devastated, regardless of the outcome, and you want to talk, text me, call me, email me. Know that I'm here for you, and I will make time for you. Oh, with that said, we are going to turn now to page 533.
86. For the Aleinu, we will pray. Which one do we do on Friday
I
nights?
think we do the first one.
I think we do the first one.
Yeah.
Please rise.
Thank you so much, Rabbi, for singing with me. I'm learning so much. I'm learning all my prayers.
I'm
so
learning too.
appreciate it.
I like learning together and praying together.
I love hearing our voices together. It really gives me hope.
There you go. 586. Aleinu l'shabeach la'adon hakol la'teit gedula le'yotzer bereshit shehu notei shamayim v'yoser aretz u'moshav yekaro b'shamayim ima'am u'shinatu zo b'gofei meromim Eloheinu Einod V'anachnu korim U'mishtachavim U'modim Lifnei Melech Malchei HaMelachim HaKadosh Baruch Hu Shehu Notei Shamayim v'Yoser Haaretz U'moshav Yekaro b'shamayim ima'al U'shinatu zo v'gofei meromim U'Eloheinu Einod Emet Malkeinu Efes Vilato Kakatuv b'Torato V'datayom V'hashevota Elavedecha Ki Adonai Hu HaElohim B'shamayim ima'al V'yal ha'aretz mitachat Einod 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 Katuv b'Toratecha Adonai yimloch le'olam va'ed v'nemar v'haya Adonai l'melech al kol ha'aretz bayom hahu yeh Adonai echad u'shemo echad. This time, you may be seated. This time we think of those who've come before, who are no longer physically among us, and who we've lost recently or at this time in seasons past, yet who are still in our hearts and minds day by day. At this time we think of, in the Pirush Shloshim, 30-day period mourning, Deanne Peterson, sister of Newt Peterson, and Igor Levovich, a local Jewish person here in Salt Lake City. And this week we also think of these loved ones whose Yorksites fall this week as well. They are Bill Aberman, Helen Appleman, Ruth Avner, Rosalie Blacksburg, David Bloom, Celia Doctorman, Rose Einheber, Max Eisen, Tom Franks, Dora Gallinson, Falk Hertz, Lottie Hertz, Faye Hockstad, Warren Lindau, Erica Lowenstein, Helen Marks, Helen Nadich Pfeiffer, Carl Pride, Natalie Webb Quinlan, Daphne Hannah Rivera, Ben Rosenblum, Alexander Reusengert, Excel Reusengert, Michael Shafir, Michael Shapiro, Louis Simon, Gabby Soria, Bernard Statter, Edna Stroll, Stuart Turconis, Isaac Wax, Sidney Weidenfeld, Alta Weiss, Isaac Weisberg, and Ben Weiss. If you have a name to add, I invite you to do so at this time. Zichronam livracha, may their memories be for a blessing. If you are in mourning or is your tradition to do so, you are invited to rise. Ikavdal v'kadash shemei rabba, ve'alma divrach yirte, v'yimlich malchute, v'chayechon v'yomechon, v'chaye dechol beit Yisrael, ba'agalav zman kariv v'imru amen. Yehi shmei rabba mevarach le'olam omei omaya. Yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yipa'ar v'yitramam v'yitnaseh. Yithadar v'yitaleh v'yitalal shmei dekudesha b'rechu. Le'elam mikol birchata v'shirata. Tushbechata v'nechemata. Damiram be'alma v'imru amen. Yehi shlama rabba min shemaya. V'chayim aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. V'imru amen. Osei shalom b'mromav. Huya say shalom. Aleinu ve'al kol Yisrael. V'imru amen. May the source of peace and peace to all who are mourning comfort those of us who are bereaved. And again, say amen.
Amen.
Karen, I want to thank you again, as always, for beautiful music and accompaniment. Thank you so much for leading us in prayer and blessing us with your voice. And if you could lead us in a closing song.
It would be my pleasure. Yasher Koach on your Devar, Rabbi.
Thank
I
you.
so appreciated what you said about listening to that intuitive voice inside yourself. And had you not listened to it, we wouldn't have the blessing of your presence here tonight. We
I wouldn't have the blessing of knowing you.
So
I'm so glad I listened to it.
I think it's holiness when we listen to that voice that says lachilach, that says it's time to go forth into a new place, and I will be with you, and I will show you. I'll guide you, and you shall be a blessing. And we're so glad that you listened to that voice. Lechilach, to a land that I will show you. Lech lecha, to a place you do not know. Lechilach, on your journey I will guide you, and you shall be a blessing, and you shall be a blessing, and you shall be a blessing. Lechilach, lechilach, and I shall make your name great. Lech lecha, and thou shalt praise your name. Lechilach, to a place that I will show you. L'simchat chayim, l'simchat chayim, l'simchat chayim, lechilach. And you shall be a blessing, and you shall be a blessing, and you shall be a blessing. Lechilach. Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom. May you all be a blessing.
Thank you. you. Nice talk to you too.